What if I told you that your net worth 10 years from now has almost nothing to do with your salary, your degree, or even your investments? It has everything to do with 10 decisions you make every single day. Decisions so small, so ordinary, so invisible that you don't even realize you're making them. The $40 dinner out, the 5-minute scroll that became 45, the I'll start next month that turned into 3 years, the upgrade you bought because everyone else had one. Individually, harmless. Collectively, they are either building your wealth or silently dismantling it. And here's the part that should genuinely unsettle you. Most people making these decisions every day have no idea which category they're in. By the end of this video, you will. And more importantly, you'll know exactly what to swap, shift, or stop. Stay with me because decision number 6 is the one that separates people who talk about wealth from people who actually build it. Most people never see it coming. Decision number 1. What you do in the first 30 minutes of your morning. Before you check your phone, before the notifications flood in, before the world starts demanding things from you. There's a 30-minute window every morning that most people hand over without a second thought. Wealthy people, and we're not talking about the flashy kind, but the quietly, durably wealthy, tend to use this window for one thing: intentional input. A page of reading, a brief financial review, 10 minutes of focused thought on a problem they're solving. The mistake most people make? They start the day reactive, phone first, news first, other people's emergencies first, and a reactive mind makes reactive financial decisions all day long. The swap is simple but profound. Own your first 30 minutes. Feed your mind something useful before the world feeds it noise. Over 5 years, that daily habit compounds into something the self-help industry has been trying to bottle and sell for decades: clarity. Decision number 2, whether you track or assume. Here's a question that will reveal more about your financial future than any quiz. Do you know, right now, off the top of your head, exactly how much you spent last month? Most people assume they do. Studies show they're wrong by an average of 40%. A University of Maryland study found that people who actively track their spending accumulate wealth at nearly 3 times the rate of those who don't, even at identical income levels. 3 times. Same salary, different habit. The mistake isn't overspending, it's unconscious spending. Money you don't see leaving feels like money that was never really there. Psychologists call this financial dissociation, and it affects high earners just as badly as low ones. You don't need a complicated app. A simple weekly 5-minute audit of where your money went creates the awareness that changes behavior automatically. What gets measured gets managed, and what gets managed eventually gets multiplied. Decision number 3, the subscription you forgot you had. This one sounds almost embarrassingly small, but stay with me. The average household pays for 12 subscription services simultaneously. The average awareness of those subscriptions? 4 or 5. That gap, those forgotten 12s and 15s and 19s, cost the average person between $300 and $600 a year. That's not catastrophic. But here's the real cost. It's not the money. It's the mindset it reveals. A person who doesn't notice $15 leaving their account every month is not watching their money. And money you don't watch doesn't respect you enough to stay. Run a subscription audit today. Cancel anything you haven't used in 30 days. Redirect that amount, even if it's $50 a month, into an index fund. At a 10% average annual return over 20 years, that $50 a month becomes over $38,000. From forgotten Netflix and a meditation app you open twice. The lesson isn't the math. The lesson is, wealthy people know where every dollar lives. Decision number 4, who you call when you have a problem. Jim Rohn said, you are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. But here's the more precise, financially specific version. You are the average of the 5 people you call when you have a money problem. If those 5 people are all in the same financial bracket as you, all carrying the same money beliefs as your parents, all making decisions from the same playbook, you will never outgrow that playbook. Not because you lack intelligence, because you lack exposure. Millionaires are statistically more likely to have a financial mentor outside their family than people who never reach that milestone. Not a financial advisor, a mentor. Someone who has already solved the problem you're currently facing. The decision? Start deliberately expanding your circle of financial influence. A podcast, a community, a mastermind, a book written by someone who built what you want to build. Proximity to better thinking is one of the highest return investments you will ever make, and it often costs nothing but intention. Decision number 5, how you respond to a windfall. Bonus, tax refund, freelance payment, gift, inheritance. What do you do in the 48 hours after unexpected money lands in your account? Here's what the data says. 70% of lottery winners are broke within 5 years. And before you think, well, I'd be smarter, behavioral economists have a name for the pattern that hits everyone: sudden wealth syndrome. The moment money arrives unexpectedly, the brain treats it as separate, less real, more spendable than earned income. The result? Windfalls get spent on things that feel like investments but aren't. Upgrades, celebrations, loans to family members, impulse commitments. Meanwhile, the people who build lasting wealth have a pre-decided rule for windfalls. A fixed percentage goes immediately, automatically, into a wealth-building vehicle before lifestyle gets a vote. 50% invest, 30% pay down high-interest debt, 20% enjoy guilt-free. The split doesn't have to be exact. The decision made in advance is what matters because, in the moment, your emotions will always outspend your intentions. Decision number 6, the one that most people never see coming. This is the one I promised you at the start. It's not investing, it's not budgeting, it's not even income. It's the decision of what problem you choose to solve for others. Every dollar you have ever earned came from solving someone's problem. Your employer had a problem. You solved it for a salary. Your clients have a problem. You solve it for a fee. The scale of your wealth is almost always directly proportional to the size and urgency of the problem you're solving and the number of people you're solving it for. As Jaime Tardy documents in The Eventual Millionaire, nearly every millionaire she interviewed crossed the wealth threshold not by working harder, but by deliberately choosing a bigger problem to solve. They leveled up the problem, not just the effort. Decision number 7, whether you buy time or sell it. There are 2 types of people in the financial world: those who trade time for money and those who build systems that generate money without requiring their time in direct proportion. The first group earns linearly: stop working, stop earning. The second group earns asymmetrically: sleep, still earning. The decision that separates them isn't talent. It's whether, at some point, they chose to take a portion of their earned income and deploy it into something that works while they don't. A dividend stock, a digital product, a rental unit, a skill-based service that can be productized. Naval Ravikant puts it bluntly: you will never get rich renting out your time. The transition from time seller to time buyer is a decision, not an income level. People making $30,000 a year have made it. People making $200,000 a year still haven't. Which side of that decision are you on right now? Decision number 8, how long you wait to start. At 7% annual return, the historical average of a diversified index fund, money doubles every 10 years, which means $10,000 invested at age 25 becomes $160,000 by age 65. The same $10,000 invested at age 35, just $80,000. 1 decade of waiting cost you $80,000 on a single $10,000 decision. The mistake isn't ignorance of compounding. Everyone's heard the Einstein quote: the mistake is believing that starting small doesn't count. $50 a month feels pointless. So people wait until they can invest. Start ugly. Start small. Start now. The market doesn't care about your confidence, it cares about your consistency. Decision number 9, what you do after a financial mistake. Everyone loses money at some point. Bad investment, failed business, scam, impulse buy that haunted you for years. The loss itself rarely determines your financial future. What you do in the 90 days after the loss almost always does. Research in behavioral finance shows that financial losses trigger the same neurological response as physical pain. And when the brain is in pain, it makes one of two choices: retreat entirely, become risk averse, overcautious, financially paralyzed, or it recalibrates. The wealthy recalibrate. They do a postmortem. They isolate what failed and why. They extract the lesson without catastrophizing the experience. Then they re-enter, smarter, slower, more deliberate. The decision after failure is actually a wealth sorting mechanism. It separates the people who are trying to build wealth from the people who are committed to it. Decision number 10, whether you define wealth before the world does it for you. This last one is the one nobody puts in a finance video, but it might be the most important of all. If you don't define what enough looks like for your life, the market will define it for you. Advertisers will define it. Your social circle will define it. Instagram will define it. And their version of enough is always just slightly beyond your current reach, by design. The result? People who earn $50,000 feel poor. People who earn $200,000 feel stretched. People who earn $500,000 feel like they still haven't made it, because they're running someone else's race on someone else's track towards someone else's finish line. Morgan Housel writes in The Psychology of Money that one of the most powerful financial decisions you can make is choosing a goalpost and refusing to move it when your income rises. That discipline, that decision, is what separates income from wealth and accumulation from freedom. 10 decisions. None of them require a windfall. None of them require a genius IQ or an MBA. But every single one of them requires something rarer: awareness. In every video, I try to discuss and address the factors that surely improve the chances of your success. If you like this also, subscribe the channel. Like and share the wealthy knowledge to your loved ones. See you in the next one.